Hello and welcome to the Stack Magazine's podcast. My name is Stephen Watson and I run Stack, the magazine club that delivers a different independent publication to your door every month. In this episode, I'm speaking with Austė Skrupskytė Cullbrand, creative director and editor of Playground, the magazine that takes a playful look at creativity and the creative industries. Now, we delivered the third issue of Playground to Stack subscribers last summer, but the fifth issue just came out a few weeks ago, and when I read it at the weekend, I was amazed at how much has changed in less than a year. So I wanted to get Austė on the podcast to talk about this rapidly evolving magazine and where it's all heading. So Austė, first of all, thank you very much for making time to talk.
Hi, and thanks for having me, Steve.
Now, I think we should start with the cover because the first three issues, so the one that we sent out was like a full solid colour cover, and it had been a different color each issue from 1 to 3, and so then with issue 4, the last one, you changed it all up and you had this almost kind of like impressionistic sort of landscape on the cover. So let's start with that. What was your thinking in changing the sort of, I guess, the formula for the covers?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because we kind of started the first issue knowing all of the 3 issues ahead. So we knew that the first is going to be blue, second is going to be pink, and third is going to be green, which was actually very nice kind of to know that. And then as we were approaching the fourth one, we started to think, what's our next step? Is it really like another color? And if it's another color, which color? And why should we continue with the color? We were also a little bit stuck because it was solid color, but it also had like this little text kind of on the front cover. And we were not sure anymore, like, should it say what the magazine is about? Should be some sort of statement related to an issue? So it was kind of like multiple layers combined. So we kind of regrouped as a team. And together with our designers, Demant and Nicholas, we kind of shared our ideas and then came back with a lot of ideas back and decided that maybe like this kind of abstract artwork route is our route to explore and to invite maybe someone else into this like cover process and kind of allow them to reinterpret every issue in their own way. So that's actually how we kind of started. And then the fourth issue was the first issue when we did that. So we collaborated then with Alexis Jamet, who's a French designer and illustrator living in Tokyo. And basically what we did, I sent to him more or less, we didn't have all the content done by that point, but like a pretty good brief, like what the issue is going to be about, what we had by that point, and asked him to kind of reinterpret how he saw that issue coming. And what he came back to was this kind of like abstract landscape with connection points, because we were talking a lot about like connections in issue 4, and he really felt like connections kind of happen in nature on one hand, where you like relax and connect, your dots, and then on the other hand this like silver line was like people and what's not. So it was like a really nice abstract idea. And then we got into issue 5. So issue 5, we connected even more dots here. So we have a new feature inside that we're probably going to talk about, but basically we wanted to maybe connect the dots and invite someone Finnish to do the artwork. And I always loved Antti Kalevi's work, and I actually tried to get him to illustrate one of the essays before, but he didn't have enough time, but he was really interested to do something. So I was like, well, cover is actually kind of a perfect way to approach someone you wanted to work with. And then for this issue, we did exactly the same. We kind of like collected our ideas and a little bit like design approach for this issue together and shared some content. And then he came back with these like very much like his style abstract drawings that are also very much based on the content inside. So, I mean, some people are really good in spotting what content is exactly in the colors. Some people don't connect it at all. And when I show to them, they're like, oh, wow, true, So it's been quite a fun approach. And we see like that is kind of our way forward, which is kind of exciting because whoever we're going to collaborate with, going to take their own approach to this, do an abstract work on our content. This is kind of an open brief, so it very much depends, I think, on curation of people we're going to invite to it. But so far, it's been really fun, and I think this one has really resonated with people so far. So it's slowly coming up the shelves. I'm curious to see how it looks in the landscape as well.
So this cover in particular feels like a very playground approach because, I mean, it's in the name. Play has always been really important to the magazine and the ideas behind it. And so I was reading the magazine and I saw
Yeah,
this thing here. And you're like, oh, yeah.
exactly.
And so that then set me off on like a little kind of hunt of like finding more of these things. So
Exactly.
so that was Antti basically like doing his thing, and like you didn't say, can you give us like a treasure hunt through the magazine or something like that?
No, not really. But now when you're saying this, I'm like, damn, that's going to be a good idea for the next one, like connect the dots. Actually, we were thinking about a cover of like connecting the dots and like inviting people to like do something on the cover. And I think that is something with, having play at the core of everything we do, that we can do whatever we want to do. But at the same time, because people working in our team, we're very much like, we work a lot with branding. So we do think a lot about what does it make sense long term as well? Like, what does it mean in terms of the brand and like recognizability, and like how will people remember us? So it's kind of like, in a way, a thin line, but I think also the people who collaborated with so far are very professional and very kind of aware of what they're doing, and like, been in the industry for quite some time as well. It might look very different if we give it to someone who's very much like up and coming, when we like let go of the rules completely.
Totally,
So,
yeah. So I guess we shouldn't assume that everyone listening to this is a Stack subscriber. So if you've been a Stack subscriber for like a year or so, then you'll have had Playground, so you know exactly what this magazine's all about. But like maybe for anyone who hasn't picked it up and seen it before, give us like the pitch. What's the thing that you're doing with this?
Yeah. So the idea how Playground started was really a response towards creative industries, people who are interested in or working in creative industries, coming from the point that we have some of the maybe greatest jobs in the world. We work with creativity, no matter whether it's music, film, art, advertising, but we tend to have quite like sharp elbows and a lot of ego and like gatekeeping and non-transparency, and many people agree with that sentiment. Usually the best conversations happen in a bar when people open up. So the idea was really to open up for those chats and conversations in this magazine and kind of make people feel seen and start sharing a little bit more and like not hold so much back. We start to say like shared ideas that maybe would be told off the record usually, put it on the record. It's actually been funny. A few people told me something during these interviews this time, like, by the way, off the record. And I was like, no, please, not off the record. Like, that's the point. Like, let's give this on the record. So yeah, the idea has been to really like kind of open up more visibility overall about creative industries. So I would say on one hand, we want to take a little bit more of this business approach as well. And kind of that's where Report was, for example, born. Maybe we'll talk later as well about it. Kind of show the importance of creative industries in overall like society and, like what we're building and doing. But then on the other hand, bring a little bit more play, honesty and transparency and kind of like inspire people not to take ourselves so seriously, and like bring a little bit more fun into it. And that part seemed to resonate a lot with everyone as well since we started, and obviously landed in the name as well, which is very much kind of at the center of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Yeah.
and so I said earlier there have been a lot of changes along the way. So I think the third one that we sent out, was that the first one where you did like the kind of survey and like reports at the beginning?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes,
all right. So that was new for number 3. With this one though, you've really kicked it up a gear. So you've got the first city guide in this one.
Yes.
So I guess first of all, why a city guide? Why order your content around a place like that?
I think the city guide has always been like a goal to include somehow. It just had to feel like honest and not too far-fetched and very much playground. I mean, we also felt like doing a city guide is kind of a production on its own. You really need to land like, what do you want to show with it? What's the point? And then I think with starting from like especially the 3rd issue onwards, which I think was kind of like a breaking issue for us in terms of like really finding our own way. And then of course we changed a lot of things, as you said, since the 3rd one, already in the 4th and now in the 5th. But we realized that the way we want to take approach on the city was kind of from this like creative industries angle. So with that said, I think what we have this time it's a city guide on Helsinki, which was very much connected with actually a work trip I had in Helsinki, and that allowed me to meet a lot of different people from different like creative industry parts and talk a lot with them and realize what's happening. But I hope while we develop this, we're going to dig even deeper and try to include even more data on the cities as well, and like what creative industries mean in them, which is a very interesting thing. Many cities don't have that. Like every city has like its own way to like celebrate creativity. And for example, in Helsinki, which I hope we shined quite well, the big one is the design world and design industry. And as you know, that they have like a chief design officer, like it's one of the few rare capitals of Europe that have that. So kind of like, try to look into a city for this creative industry perspective for people who like do something creative in it, and like see, where they meet, like how they develop things and what's not.
And so the way that you've gone about it, you have these lovely, very simple line drawing illustrations.
Yeah.
Kind of puts me in the mind of like a monocle or something like that. Was that like a reference when you were putting this together?
Not at all, actually. That's another thing. We really wanted a Finnish person to illustrate the feature, and actually the person who did that, Alice Stocker, she just applied through an open call last time. We're like, oh, this is great, she's Finnish, she wants to do something, let's give it to her. And we kind of didn't give her any like specific brief. We told her we really like lined illustrations altogether, and we feel like maybe keeping kind of in like a not too colorful territory, the whole thing, like not to try to like bring more things, and like we really wanted to be driven by content and like drawings. If you would see her work, her portfolio, she doesn't really do things like that. So when we got it back, we're like, oh my God, like we were so impressed by it. We couldn't believe like how she pushed it further, which kind of like set us in a position that we thought we were going to change an illustrator for every city guide moving further. But she did such a great job. She doesn't even notice I'm saying this, but we're like, should she continue doing them? At the same time, she did it so well because she really illustrated the locations of Helsinki, like the specific areas and what's not. So it really kind of came from her experience living in a city as well. So that's been really fun. But I agree, it has like a little bit of a feeling of Monocle's illustrations. But yeah, it comes from a person who hasn't done something like this before, which is impressive.
Well, I think for me, it's not just the style of the illustration. It's also the thing of like, like recommending cool places to go, like sort of, it's even that part of the world, like the sort of like, the countries that stand out for me as, they're the ones that are always at the top of like sort of the quality of life indexes and things like that. It all feels Monocle, but I mean, obviously, like, so you're based between Lithuania and Sweden, I think, is that right?
Yes. Correct.
So the sort of the Nordic countries, Baltics, have been a part of Playground from the start, but it kind of feels like you're leaning even more into that and, coming up with this sort of identity that is very based there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there is kind of a market for us to come from here. There are many great magazines. And we kind of are very inspired by that, coming back to Monocle. They're very vocal about Switzerland and the UK and their two legs. It is like probably there is no Monocle that doesn't talk about Zurich or what happens in Geneva, Let's take Apartamento, they're very strong with their Spanish heritage, like it's clear they're from Barcelona, it comes through. And we actually really want to be clear that we have this like Nordic starting point, that we are somewhere between like the North countries and the Baltic countries, which is like set as North Europe. And we really want to keep that identity in there. That doesn't mean that we're not going to cover cities later that are from different areas, but we feel like that's an identity we would like to take because we feel like maybe there is an open space for that on one hand. But on the other hand, we think it's kind of a nice project for us as well to find what's that identity, we can bring from this part of the world kind of into the publishing industry and into the magazines.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, so let's go further down that track. So you are actually modeling the first clothing collaboration of Playground. So I said we've got lots of firsts in this. I mean, I guess you had baseball caps before, but
correct.
So this is you. In this issue, you have the first fashion shoots, which is a shoot with your first ever clothing collab. So tell me how that all came together.
Yeah, that project has been crazy. I mean, if I learned one thing through the whole Playground publishing process or the whole like play that we do around is that it's great to talk about your ideas loudly because they might happen. So the workwear collection very much happened like that. Actually, exactly a year ago now, I told to my good friend, who we were quite close, but maybe not even as close as we are now. But she's a creative director in one of the Lithuanian kidswear brands. And the thing is, I've been nagging her, and many people have been nagging her for years that they're doing such great stuff, but why they don't do anything for adults? Like, why is it just for kids? Because they are like their take is all about like unisex clothing. It's a lot of like cute suits and the pants. And we were in this event in Copenhagen, 3 Days of Design, which is kind of happening around this time now as well. And I think just having like a drink somewhere outside, and I was like, why don't you do this? And I was like, we would definitely wear it in Studio Playground team, but why don't you test it on us? And I kind of pitched it like, this is a great business opportunity for you to test on us. You're not taking any risks, and this is going to be like a fun side gig for us. And that's really how it started. I wrote kind of the whole now newsletter piece about like step by step, really how we went through it. But, we kind of really just like started meeting every kind of month or 2 months from that summer onwards and discussing about it. And I don't know, I think all the way through, we both maybe didn't think it's going to happen, but we also took it with a very like, I don't know, ease and, just like playfulness and not trying to overthink it too much. I think we put ourselves quite some limitations as well of what we should do or shouldn't do from the beginning, and just wanted to have fun, kind of, seeing it. Not putting some sort of big goals or like wishes, neither from like sales perspective or communication. Just wanted to have fun with it. And then, it was like really an amazing project. She's done amazing work on design. We collaborated on everything. And I think the challenging part for me personally was later taking it into a shoot, our first editorial fashion shoot, because I don't really work with clothing. I never really worked with clothing before. I work a lot with shoots, but usually more like stills, like in terms of like design objects and what's not really also with people that much. And, when it comes to people, you suddenly think about everything: the nails, the hair, the skin, the socks, the shoes, and so many details. And then, not even to begin how to get the models, the location, was so many like little things. So it was kind of the first in terms of like work collaboration, but then was like, how do we bring it kind of to life further? And, the very end was kind of stressful because we were like finishing the final samples of clothing. At the same time, was trying to find the models because I was so stuck that we need to go to the location where we did the shoot, which was in a big factory in the middle of Sweden. Everyone was telling me, like, why don't you just do it in Stockholm? No, but like, I was like, this is so cool there. I feel like it's such a great place. Like, the people who own it told me we can do it. We should do it. People usually don't let us into these kind of places. So yeah, put myself these like almost impossible goals with some sort of wish that someone is gonna someone's going to say yes to all of these ideas. And very last minute, but everything got sorted and we did it. And I'm really excited about it because at the same time, there is another first in the magazine for this, is that we added glossy paper for this shoot as well, which was really exciting thing to do. And we're very, very happy about it. Now we understand why magazines like glossy paper inside their magazines.
The photos look lovely, and then there's an important other ingredient we've not talked about, which is Axner. I think they're called,
yes,
the band.
The band.
So that's a Malmo based band. So
yes.
We're getting like another sort of like layer of Nordics coming into this. So like how did that come about? I mean, how did you end up speaking to this band and going, hey, do you want to model this new workwear collaboration?
Yeah, so actually I know Julia, one of the band members from project I've done in London a few years ago. They actually used to live in London, the band, and there are a couple as well, 2 of them from the band. And I kind of remembered that they moved to Malmö, and I remember that I think I've seen them doing a photo shoot at some point. And it was such a, like algorithmic success that I think one of those days when I thought nothing is going to happen, their photo or a music on Spotify, something came in front of my face and it just like clicked in my head. I was like, oh my God, they would be perfect. Because I kind of connected to one other area we want to develop more in Playground is like connection to music. We always did these like curated playlists for an issue. We skipped for issue 4 because I used to do them, and then I felt like, who am I to do a playlist for a magazine? Like I like music, but I'm not like a music expert. I don't think I dig that much as some people, really dig into music. And then, so we didn't have enough time. I ended up not doing it for issue 4. And I always wanted to like somehow connect maybe those playlists to issue better as well. So actually, not only they turned to be like models in this photo shoot, they also got, since we were kind of done with the whole magazine by that point, they got the whole issue and got a task to curate a playlist for the whole magazine as well, which is like in the very front, and you can kind of listen along while you do it. So that was like a really nice connection to all of it as well.
Yeah. So it feels like, as well as this theme of wanting to try new things, wanting to like really lean into the kind of like the Nordic, the Baltic like region, there's also this theme of just like things happening through friends, kind of like, oh, I knew this person and we were able to do this, and that's something that I think has been present in Playground from the start as well. Like there's a sense in your interviews with these various different like creative people or artists or whatever it is, there's always a sense of like, we're not just randomly speaking to this person. There's like a relationship there first. Like what was the name of the London-based artist that was in issue 3, who you interviewed?
Wait, now I'm thinking. London-based artist in issue 3.
You'd met him years ago, and he's like sort of
Ando Masebo.
That. So that was something where like you'd met him like years ago, and like it feels like this sort of, it's a community of people on the pages of the magazine.
Definitely. And I would say probably 50% of people who work on the magazine are someone that I know quite well, while the other 50% I have never even met before. Some of them I actually don't talk through the process. By this point, because I have some people working on the magazine, we talk through someone and like I see what they do. But no matter what, actually all interviews we had in this issue were done by people who knew the interviewees. So like there was a connection between the people. And I think that's very, very important to capture what I was saying about the whole magazine, those honest, in between lines. We were talking a lot with the interview I did and this one with Form Us With Love, the both founders that know pretty well. They really, really opened up, and we were discussing at the end, like, it does probably happen because like we trust each other. And I think that trust and conversations is very important. So I think you need some of those connections to truly open the doors of honesty. And it's not kind of bringing friends because like people would do something for you, even if they're friends, like, for example, like a scenario, we still have a monetary exchange with them because I want them to feel like they are contributing to something. We're not like just using them, their faces to show our workwear. But on the other hand, like it's a nice, of course, moment to be together as well, to connect and, like have some fun. And the outcome hopefully is visible in that as well.
No, absolutely. There's a lovely kind of warmth to it. There's a feeling of like these people kind of meaning something to each other. Okay, so I'm always really interested in the fact that you started, because your studio is called Studio Playground. And I guess I'd always assumed that like, you'd been running this thing called Studio Playground for years and then said, let's make a magazine. But is it right that you started them both basically at the same time?
Yes, the studio started in March, and then the first issue came out. Now I'm thinking, because the third one was summer. Yeah, we started issue 3 around the same time, like a few months in, and then launched by the end of the year, November, in the same year, exactly. So it kind of, there was always an idea that these things should go hand in hand.
So Playground Magazine and Studio Playground kind of came into the world together.
Yes.
Now, I guess the reason I find that interesting is because the sort of classical model is you've got a creative agency that's like, making kind of like client work and stuff. And they go, oh, actually, we've got a bit of spare capacity. We could make a magazine, which then is almost like sort of a calling card, and it's a way of bringing business in and stuff. But speaking to you, that wasn't what happened with Studio Playground. Sorry, with Playground Magazine for Studio Playground. But I wonder, like, has that changed now? Like, are you at the point yet where people are seeing the magazine and going, "Oh, fantastic! You're those people. Can you do some commercial work for us?"
Yes and no. It definitely lifts up our visibility a lot, for sure. It's like a fantastic, I mean, you could say it in a way, it's a fantastic marketing tool. I hate calling it like that because I feel like it kind of makes it feel smaller than what it is. It's such an important thing. And, I think there is both like pros and cons in this process because it takes so much visibility that I feel like it takes away the visibility from all the other work we're doing. But it definitely brings a lot of opportunities right now to do some things I didn't even expect to do. So, for example, I've been lately moderating quite a lot of panels, which for me was a new territory that I was asked by someone like a year ago, and that thing opened the doors to so many of these opportunities to do further. So, which I really, really enjoy because I feel like it connects a lot to our work as well. Truthfully, I think maybe creative industries are not in the best economy right now in the global economy altogether. So it's really hard to understand, like, are we doing well or are we doing badly? Like in terms of like financing, for example, I really did an investment kind of in the first 3-4 issues. And like the goal is kind of to try to come back to the same sum so we can kind of reinvest. So we're not really making any money of it whatsoever. We are not even fully back on zero. We still kind of keep funding it from sides here and there. But we're definitely started to attract some more partnerships for the magazine and some ads in it, which is really, really hard work, as probably many people tell you. We also decided to go that route because we felt it's honest, and it's maybe more honest since we work with brands and, we're a commercial agency rather than try to get funding from like government, which is like could be another route, obviously, to go. I'm also, though, very not experienced to write those applications. And I've just heard horror stories, how much time they take.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But so you're doing all of the ad sales stuff yourselves?
Correctly. Yeah, correct. And it's a lot of work and a lot of relationship building. But we have started to notice that this part has been moving in a good direction as well, because we started to get more visibility. And then we started actually to collaborate with some festivals as well, creative festivals, which we never kind of thought that can be a route for us. So, for example, we are going to have like a big collaboration this year with Forward Festival in Berlin, which is like a very big creative conference. So we're like their media partner, which is the Clerkenwell Design Week. We're going to do probably Shoreditch Design Week partnership as well, which is really exciting. So it kind of opened up these doors to connect through other angles, which I didn't even think of, kind of before. Not sure how like it will fully affect business later, but yeah, as I mentioned, visibility wise, a lot. But truthfully, just coming back to your question, maybe I went a bit in circle. For me, the starting point to start Playground as part of Studio Playground was actually to create a product and a case of a project that I would love to show to all like potential clients on one hand, to like really show the quality of work we want to do, and the magazine is such a great example because there's so many things in there, from text to photography to illustrations to overall product management and production. But then on the other hand was actually more idea to like connect with more people and like build community and like find the best talent in Europe. So kind of like, no, like, I don't know, we have some projects, we need a strategist to find like more strategists. So they're not just friends, actually. So, now when I say sometimes friends, actually many of these friends came from the magazine. And then maybe, like we started doing something there and working something together. And truthfully, even like with a person, I think Victor Wendt, for example, I think he's written an essay for issue 3. We actually just finished doing a very big studio project together with him. And, the connection really started from the magazine. Or the other publication we recently did, we did a design with a designer who's also written an essay for issue 4. Never met before, just had like a really good vibe, and decided to invite him to do more projects together. So I would say the big, beautiful thing of this magazine's connection to other talented creatives around the world. That's like a fantastic way to like connect with them, do some maybe a little bit smaller projects before we step into something bigger, kind of see what's the relationship, what's the vibe. And that's been really, really nice. And I would say like the most beautiful thing of doing the magazine.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good to hear. All right. So we've got this magazine, which is evolving really quickly. You're like adding new components all the time. So do you have another issue coming out this year?
Yes, we are going to do a second one in autumn as well.
And so do you have an idea yet of like new things that will be added to that one?
Yes, I'm thinking now, not really a very big new section per se, but we have some learnings from this one that we're definitely going to keep up. We are also not sure. A new thing in this issue was that we actually added 16 more pages because we couldn't fit in the previous one. I still don't know if we're going to keep them there or going to pull back to our normal number. And it's purely like a content question. But what we know more in this issue, like we know what the report is going to be about. We kind of know, we actually know what our next city guide is about. We know what our next deep dive is going to be about. And then we know that we're launching our open call soon, which opens us again even more things. And maybe with that, something comes up. Because, for example, in issue 2, I never planned to do a photo essay, but then we got an amazing submission for a photo essay. And that turned to be like, we can't miss this opportunity. We should do a photo essay. So I'm always open for these ideas with an open call. And actually, I don't want to use this as a promotion for that, but when we do an open call, we really tell people like surprise us. We're even open for like new content ideas if you have one. But people are quite shy, they're keeping it to like a standard formulas. But once in a while, something new comes up. And if we feel like it's a fit, we're very happy to add that in as well.
Yeah. Well, look, it's amazing to see this thing from afar and just watching it kind of grow and evolve and develop. So I guess really good luck with the next phase of it. And I'll look forward to reading issue 6.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.